The Street Corner Soapbox. The Street Corner Soapbox with Falso and Willin. Podcast takeover. We're making a killing. Music to nightlife. Debauchery and street news. Serving it hot. We are some street news, movies and mayhem. The craziest guests, word from chaos. Get it off our chest, Rhode Island, worldwide. Dark corners in all places. Speak how we live, radio show, smoking aces. Ladies and gents, for the people we're talking. Take the show on the road, right where you're walking. Yeah.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Street Corner Soapbox Podcast coming to you live.
That's right, boys and girls. Street Corner Soapbox. Now, we all know during this crazy time with the pandemic, businesses are struggling. So we're here to support local businesses, and we need your help to do so also.
That's right. So subscribe to our Patreon, become a member to help support the show, and receive exclusive episodes and bonus content, as well as discounts on merch. That's patreon.com/streetcorner_soapbox2020.
Follow us on our website, streetcornersoapbox.com.
That's right, boys and girls. We are back. Street Corner Soapbox. I'm here with my brother, Lord Willin.
Yo, what's going on?
What up, what up, what up? Good guest today, all the way from motherfucking Australia.
The land down under.
Mick Lambrou. What up, Mick?
How's it going, guys?
Good, man.
Mick, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, doing well.
Glad you came on the show. You're our first international overseas guest.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's an honor. I'm very, very honored to be here.
Well, it's great to have you on. For those that don't know, Mick is a very talented artist.
Yeah, super talented. Does a lot of band work. We're going to get into that in the episode.
Yes.
You know, how we came about with Mick, just through a collaboration of people, kind of. I mean, Omerta Mia.
Yeah.
Shout out to Omerta.
Danny Marianino.
Yeah, Total Cavone.
Total Cavone, Northside Kings. He was actually...
Dope work.
Well, Mick did a bunch of artwork for Danny, and Danny kind of put us onto him. Or did you see him from Omerta?
I seen the post on Omerta put it up, so I was like, oh, shit. I said, that's him. I said, so, because I've seen your artwork through Total Cavone and Danny, so then I said, oh, fuck, you want to let me reach out to Mick? Yeah. And then you actually did a dope piece for us for our podcast, and you're actually working on another one. So yeah, man, it's fucking cool that we can link up. It's totally cool being like talking to somebody on WhatsApp
in the
from
future.
Australia.
We're talking to somebody in the future right now.
You're like a time traveler.
How's life in the future?
Yes, I am from the future, and it sucks just as much as it does now.
So I have no hope for tomorrow. It's going to be the same.
No,
God damn it!
Same shit, different day. Is what we say here.
But yeah, man, I'm super stoked that you're able to take some time out of your day. I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, super dope. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, and I appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah, this is really cool.
Definitely, bro. Anytime. You already know.
So,
thank you.
Mick, you want to get into a little bit of about your background, about maybe any inspirations coming up with dealing with art and
your artistic beginnings.
Yeah. Like, how, is it something from school or like family?
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, we didn't have anyone really that artistic in the family, and art was kind of the only thing that I sort of was good at school. And sort of after all that sort of stuff finished, and I just kept drawing, and at first I sort of started getting involved in sort of local comic book publishers.
Oh, cool.
That didn't really go anywhere. So I tried my hand at painting. So I taught myself how to paint with oil paints and all that sort of stuff. And I did that for a few years. Did some exhibitions, both in Australia and internationally. Same thing. I kind of got bored of that. It just went on and nothing really came of it. And I always looked for something that would inspire me to sort of be as creative as I could. So it was staring me right in the face all these years is incorporating my love for hardcore and punk and adding that to some cartoons and stuff. And I guess the big inspiration is the vibe I always wanted to get from my art was kind of an 80s flyer that you might see, Sean Taggart or someone like that put together. And that's how it kind of came about. And I just kept at it for a while. And then I got a big break. I I woke up one morning and I had a message from Jack from Slapshot asking me if I could do the cover to their most recent album. So that was a huge shock and a massive honour as well. And I had about 5 days to do the whole thing, front and back cover, all by hand, all that sort of stuff. So, and it sort of kicked off from there.
How did they end up finding about you?
I think the original artist, they had a disagreement on the design, and Jack's girlfriend at the time followed me on Instagram, and she suggested that he check out my stuff, and he liked it, and then they hit me up for the artwork.
Oh, yeah.
So going back a little bit, so you were self-taught as an artist. You didn't go to school or anything for it?
No. It was many, many years of practice. I guess from when I was as young as I can remember, all I ever wanted to do was become a cartoonist or a comic book artist or something like that. So it was just many, many hours spent drawing.
So you basically turned your passion and your dream into a reality.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, it was something that I take pretty seriously, even though they're sort of just cartoons and stuff. But I do take it really seriously, and it means a lot to me when people show interest in it. It's really amazing.
Yeah,
so
because you're passionate about it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's when I get messages from musicians that I've idolized almost my entire life, say, "We love what you do. Can you do something for us?" It means the world to me. So, it's very important.
And now, have you said something about comic books? Have you actually done artwork for comic books?
I only did a few short stories for a local publisher here in Melbourne, and I don't even think they exist anymore. So it was that is pretty much as far as it went. I sent some stuff to some artists in the States, and they gave me sort of feedback and all that sort of stuff. But that's a notoriously hard industry to get into, so I sort of gave up on that.
Well, maybe you could do like a DIY punk rock comic book, and you could do all the illustrations.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
What's now? What's hard about it? The American part of it, like pushing your stuff out here to get noticed more, or hard in general as far as like the comic book style?
I think there's a very big difference in sort of the static images of like a front cover piece, and then being able to tell a story through sequential art.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So that, and I think the thing is because there's also so many people that want to get into that industry, and it's, I guess, still kind of a niche market where a lot of that stuff's almost going digital as well. So it wasn't back then when I was sort of having a go at it, but I think it's just very difficult. There's some very successful people in that industry that were rejected, 100, 200, 300 times when they submitted artwork. So it can be really hard to get into.
All right, so switching gears a little bit into the music, when did you get into hardcore and punk rock? You said you started going to shows in the late 90s, so was it around that time or before?
It was around that time. I always had an interest, as well as art, I always had an interest in music as well. Unfortunately, I never learned how to play an instrument, not well anyway, but I guess my first sort of couple of concerts that I went to when I was about 14 were like AC/DC, and and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who were big at the time, and all that sort of stuff. And then some mates at school sort of brought in some Pennywise records and that sort of stuff, that sort of 90s skate punk stuff. So it sort of progressed from there, and I switched gears pretty quickly after that into listening to bands like Madball and Agnostic Front and that sort of stuff. And then we just went to local shows as often as we could. It was almost every single weekend back then there were shows. So it sort of started sort of around 96, 97, and it hasn't really stopped, well, until this year, of course. But so that's sort of how it came into that, and then I sort of really got pretty obsessed with hardcore in general, and particularly the sort of the New York scene as well. So that's, I guess, the other big thing about the artwork that I do is I've been able to work with a lot of those classic bands from that scene. So,
what was the scene like in Melbourne and Australia in general for hardcore, punk music, metal, whatever, anything of that sort?
It sort of ebbs and flows. In the late 90s and early 2000s, it was really taking off, and there seemed to be new bands every second week, sort of thing, playing shows, and then it died off for a bit, and then new bands sort of spring up. And at the moment, I think 2020's probably taken a big hit out of
everything.
Everything. And especially sort of bands. And I think that the hardcore scene now is pretty small, in Melbourne at least. I think so. There haven't been a ton of shows on anymore. There used to be some big shows, and that doesn't seem to be really happening anymore. Punk and even some oi bands have sort of made a bit of a resurgence in the last few years. So it's a small scene, but it's good.
Who are some good bands out of Australia that people can check out? And
like what you listen to or anything, even us. I'll look it up.
Yeah, there's a great band that these guys they're kind of like a Rose Tattoo mix punk band called No Class. They're really good mates of mine. Another really good band from Melbourne is called The Clinch, and they're a kind of a mix of street punk and oi. And then up north in Queensland, there's some great bands, Stoush, Plan of Attack, and then we've had classic bands like Marching Orders and Bulldog Spirit and those sort of bands from years gone by that don't get to play that often anymore.
Nice. Now, did you travel across like all of Australia going to shows? I know it's a big country, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
It is. It's very big. Yes, you can't really hop in the car and drive anywhere anytime soon. It takes it's about a 9-hour drive to Sydney from Melbourne.
Wow.
So it's a fair distance.
Yeah, we can drive through our whole state in fucking 20 minutes.
Yeah, I can get the state that we live in. We can literally get through in about half an hour to 45 minutes. We can go to New York City in about 3.5 hours, depending on traffic.
I can have a drink in Newport and then drive to Providence. I'll be there in a half hour. Yeah. I'll see you there.
Well, but what's even more maybe exciting is the fact that we can go to New York City in 3.5 hours. We can go to Boston in an hour. You know, the big cities. In a country like where he comes from, he's saying it takes 9 hours to get to the next city.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's and I mean 3 hours from here is just a small country town. So I do envy people that live in places like that, especially in the States or even in Europe, where you can cover countries in sort of hours, and you could be on the other side of Europe in a day or so. So that's kind of alien to me. I don't really understand that, but I do envy people that have that opportunity.
How I look at United States is kind of like Europe, as Europe being the North America, you would say, and then all states in Europe are like countries, like you know, Italy, Spain. But to us, they're like states. They're not they're not countries, so it's a little different.
Well, in Europe, you can literally hop on that express train or whatever, and you can go from fucking England to fucking France to wherever,
Germany, anywhere.
Literally different countries. Here, it's different states, but the culture is pretty much similar until you get maybe in the deep south and out west. But
as far as
in
like
Europe,
demographically speaking, it's kind of like the same amount of space.
In Europe, you're literally going from one country
to another,
where they speak a different language. Yeah. Whereas in America, you're going from one state to the next, where we all speak the same language.
That's true. You do. I went on a 5-week holiday to the States about 10 or 11 years ago, and that was cool too, because we did the entire East Coast
Would you guys go to New York?
Yeah, we started off in New York and worked our way up, did parts of Canada, and then went straight back down all the way down to Miami.
Oh, no shit.
So that was just coming across all the different accents that you guys have. And,
yeah.
It's really, and the fact that no one could understand a word that I was saying.
Well, you know what's funny is I've actually met I before COVID I was running a bar in Boston, and I actually had met some people from Australia a few times. They came in. They were big, like the fans of the local sports teams, like professional basketball and stuff like that. And it was pretty interesting. Yep. Like they had traveled this far, you know what I mean, from Australia. And how long is that flight? Like 20-something hours?
It's even longer. I think with stopovers and all that sort of stuff, I think it took us about 30 hours to get to New York.
Wow. Do you guys have a layover, or do you fly straight?
Yeah, we flew straight from Melbourne to LA.
Wow, no shit.
Had a 5-hour layover, and then it's about a 5 or 6 hour flight to
probably
from LA to New York.
about 6 hours. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
No kidding. How are the planes? Are the planes different? Not to cut you off. Are the planes different going on such a long trip? Like ours are like butts to nuts. You know what I mean? You're stacked up in there. Is it more comfortable on an international flight coming that far away?
No, I don't think so. They're still just as bad. I mean, shit. Melbourne to LA is about 13 hours, 14 hours. So that is uncomfortable. And I'm not a good flyer, so I really struggle on those flights. So
I'd have to fly first class somehow. I'd have to fucking come up with some money and get a first class ticket.
Get a charter plane.
Yo, for real, dude.
Put an air mattress in the middle.
Our trip home, so on that long trip tour of New York, of the East Coast, we flew home via Miami, and our trip home took 46 hours.
Oh, my shit. God. Did you sleep?
Oh, you had to.
No, not much. No.
Really? I'd be a fucking wreck, dude.
See, I can fall asleep. I know you would. Yeah, I can fall asleep anywhere.
This guy can sleep fucking right now, standing up, doing this podcast.
I might fall asleep during the middle of it.
Yeah, I need silence and fucking darkness, man. Fuck, I'd be fucked.
Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah, really bad.
You got to pack a lot of clementines for that trip.
I'd probably start drinking.
Yeah,
honest. No shit, that's nuts, man. I have here in 2001, you had a little experience with you guys had a short-lived experience, rather, with a hardcore band.
Yes, a very, very short-lived. I think we played together 4 times.
Okay.
So we practiced once. We recorded the demo the second time we played. The third time we played was a practice, and then the fourth time we played was an actual show. And then that was also the
last. So you hit every base, and that was it.
One and done.
Yeah.
One and done. That's it. We did it.
It was over before it started, and it was kind of weird because we had a couple of small radio stations here that played our songs, and we did a in studio interview, which was weird because no one knew who we were, and then we were gone before it sort of aired, and it was really bizarre.
What was the name of the band?
We were called Stand Strong.
Stand Strong, okay. What was that? Was that a punk band? Or straight punk?
Yeah, sort of a early Sick of It All sounding hardcore band. So, yeah, it was fun. I wish it went a bit longer, but...
What did you play, Mick?
I was on vocals.
Oh, nice. No shit, nice.
Is any of that music available online?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I thought at one point in the last sort of 10 or 15 years, someone might have uploaded it to some sort of streaming site, but I don't think it's available anymore.
Okay, so you guys just pressed up hard copies locally, did one show, and that was it.
Yeah, we kind of had guys that were helping us basically just do the recording, and then we said, oh, well, we've got a show, do you want to play? And they're like, yeah, okay, we'll play the show. And then it just, after that, they were like, okay, we don't want to do it anymore. It was like, oh, okay, well, and then that was it.
Yeah. Do you have any aspirations to do any more music?
I'd love to play in a band again, but I think now with my commitments and family and all that sort of stuff, it'd probably be pretty difficult to keep it up.
Yeah, you're talking about 20 years ago.
Right. Well, and playing in a
Well,
band.
there's that too. I'm twice as old as I was.
And playing in a band's not easy. I had a band, pretty short-lived band. I mean, a little longer than yours, but it was not, you got to get everyone together. You got to constantly practice and go over the songs, and it's just a whole different process than, like, me doing hip-hop. It's just I could do it by myself, whereas doing the band, everyone has to be on the same page, and you already know.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Everybody's got to be committed to it and want to keep it going. And you're right, everyone's got to be on the same page and want to practice once or twice a week or whatever it is. And if you get offers to play interstate, you want to be able to do all that sort of stuff. So I think at my age now, it'd probably be difficult to do.
I hear you. So you had mentioned that you were doing art exhibitions locally and internationally. So were you traveling like outside of the country for your art?
No, not necessarily. It was more the studio that was kind of organising pieces to be sent to places would arrange for the stuff to be shipped over. So I had a piece in a Japanese art show one year,
nice.
And one other one somewhere else. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I did maybe half a dozen exhibitions. One took me about 2 years to get ready. It was my first solo exhibition, which was about 5 or 6 years ago. I painted about 20 pieces or so, and that was a great experience, and it got quite a bit of interest and stuff, which was cool. And but then after a while, it just fizzed out, and I got sort of bored of it as well. And also keeping paintings in a small apartment where we lived at the time was becoming problematic space-wise.
Makes sense. So at that point, is that when you started to focus your artistic endeavors on doing, punk, hardcore-based artwork?
Yeah, pretty much. I'd always been looking for something, and people that I'd spoken about, I guess, art in general was, you've got to find that thing that's yours or that becomes yours, or a style that you become recognisable for. And I think I was scratching my head for so long trying to figure out what it actually was that I could do to come up with something that people would recognise as me. And it sort of happened by accident. It was I did a couple of drawings a couple of years prior, which were that sort of 80s flyer type artwork that I found them again, and they kind of reignited my interest in doing that sort of art again. So I had another go, and I just kept drawing and drawing and drawing. It was just trying to pump out as much stuff as I possibly could just to get any sort of interest. And and it slowly picked up, and people were taking notice. And now it's something that, if someone sees a bootleg T-shirt of one of my designs from South America somewhere, people sort of mention it to me, and they say, "Hey, this looks like yours. Is it one of your designs?" And usually it is. But it's kind of cool that people now sort of recognise that style as my work, which is really cool. And I guess that was kind of the aim.
What you're saying is people reach out to you knowing people are kind of like copywriting your style type of thing?
Well, they're making bootlegs of his merchandise.
So they're taking your ideas and then capitalizing on it, kind of.
Well, no, I think... Mick, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're saying is like a design that you've done for somebody, there's bootleg shirts coming out with your design on it.
Yes, yeah. So that's happened a few times.
I mean, that's actually, it's good and it's bad, but it's good enough that you're doing something right.
Well, I think that means that you've made it. When people start bootlegging your shit, that means it's kind of a sign of success.
Yeah. I've had a few people say that to me. So it's like, what's that? Flattery is the big... imitation is the biggest form of flattery. It's kind of cool, and someone even bootlegged the character design that I put on the front cover of the Slapshot record. Someone bootlegged that actual sort of cartoon. So it's a 3D printed image of this character with the hockey sticks and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of cool seeing that stuff. Some people sort of help back me up, and they're like, they message these people and go, you know, what are you doing? You shouldn't rip people's art off and all that sort of stuff. But it's almost one of those things. Once it's on the internet, it's kind of fair game, and if people are going to knock it off, then that's what they'll do.
So how would you describe your art style? And maybe run us through a little bit of your creative process when you're working on something. I
guess if it's something that I'm just drawing for myself, it's literally whatever pops into my head, and then I can work pretty quickly. So I work in a traditional way where I just use a pad and a retractable pencil and Sharpies and that sort of stuff. So it's pretty no frills. I don't use computers or any sort of technology, and that's purely because I don't know how to use that sort of programming stuff. So, so I'm sticking to just black and white for the most part. And but to describe the style, I've never really thought about it to think of a particular style. It's kind of an old school flyer art. I can't really figure out.
Well, it's more because it's kind of like comic book style in a sense. Really?
Yeah, you can definitely see that influence for sure. And I've got different influences in different forms of art. So I've got painting influences, your Frank Frazettas and those type of guys. And for comic book style stuff, it's like Jack Kirby and John Buscema and those sort of guys from the 60s and 70s. And I guess for this particular style of art that I'm doing at the moment is kind of really heavily influenced by Sean Taggart, who did, the classic Agnostic Front and Cause for Alarm cover and the Crumbsuckers, and he did a heap of Pro-Mag flyers back in the day and all that sort of stuff. So he's heavily influenced the layouts that I do, because I kind of just put down whatever pops into my head. Yeah. And some of the stuff, if you've seen it, is kind of pretty weird, and there's some odd sort of imagery and symbolism and all that sort of stuff in it. And I try to mix that in with the punk and hardcore sort of aesthetics as well. Yeah,
it definitely has that vibe for sure. And he's not lying. You guys listening, he definitely does it all by hand, because I've seen all the proofs that you sent me when you did the first one, the design you did for us, and it was pencil on paper. You know what I mean? And then marker, whatever you use, marker, I believe, and then you scanned it, and shit's fire. We got a lot of good responses. It's fucking dope. It's raw.
I love your style, man. It's really gritty. And I could definitely see it being turned into like a cartoon, like an adult cartoon, or and something like even tattoos. Like the drawings you do, I could see people getting tattoos.
You could start doing that for sure. Flash, doing like make a book of Flash for.
Have you thought about that? Maybe doing some Flash and getting it out there to some tattoo artists.
Yeah, I've put a couple of small designs together just for fun, just to see what it would kind of look like. And I did a design that I put up on my Redbubble called Rat Poison. And I did that classic sort of tattoo style lettering with the baseball bat underneath it. And it looks really strong, I think, as a tattoo design. It's really bold but simple. And I've had people tattoo my drawings already. So I've received a few photos here and there of
that's gonna be that's gonna be good for the ego.
Yeah, how did that feel when you saw that?
Yeah, it's really cool. I had a guy from France send me a photo of the Eliminator design I did for Agnostic Front. He got that whole picture tattooed on his leg.
Wow, nice.
So that's really cool. So that's more flattering, I think, than seeing someone wearing a T-shirt, because they're wearing it on their skin and
forever.
Yeah.
Unless I'm not going to take this T-shirt off ever again. Yeah, that's fucking awesome, man. That's actually wicked dope.
It is.
Now going back to a little bit a while ago, you were talking about Slapshot. You had a decent, good big break with you did the cover for the Make America Hate Again. How'd you get into that?
Yes. It just happened by accident. He sort of Jack hit me up and he was like, we've got no time, we need this out, can you put something together? And I basically had to come up with the whole layout and design by scratch. So I completely winged it and hoped that the guys would like it. And it got a really good response. And I even got a message from the guys at Cortex Records in Germany, if you know those guys. And
yep.
they told me that that album, the year it came out, was one of the highest selling albums in store for that entire year. And they think it was partially because people love the artwork so much. So
hell yeah,
it gave that really old school sort of vibe to the record. And I think it suits the music of the record really well too. So
now, have you seen Slapshot in person and perform?
Yes, they did tour here once about 7 years ago.
Okay. Nice.
And that was cool. And the coolest thing about that tour was they played as Slapshot on the Saturday, and then they played as Stars and Stripes on the Sunday afternoon.
Right. Nice. Yeah, they were doing both. Yeah, they were doing that here too.
Yeah, so that was really awesome. So I got to see both sort of versions of those bands. So that was really awesome.
Yeah, man, definitely. And you also mentioned, you've done artwork for Agnostic Front, Madball, Murphy's Law,
Street Corner Soapbox.
That's right. And Northside Kings. Shout out to Danny Marianino once again. Total Gavone, and also Omerta Clothing. How does it feel to really be working with people that you look up to and you're a fan of?
It's a dream come true. There's no other way to put it, really. It blows my mind every time I think about it. So it's something that I never, ever thought I'd be able to achieve, especially being on the other side of the planet. But it's amazing.
Literally,
and
right?
And it's hard to, I guess I tell my wife about it and that sort of stuff, and she doesn't really get it. But it means so much to me that I can't really.
She thinks you're just like, go have fun with your friends.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. She's not into that sort of scene, so she sort of shrugs her shoulders and she's like, "Okay, that's good as long as you're happy."
Yeah. I mean, you made it like you said across the country, so you're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of social media too. It allows you to network with people.
I mean, I would have never linked up with you, or we would have never linked up with you otherwise. You know what I mean?
Right. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, this is just as cool for us being able to outreach our brand to you.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's fucking surreal, kind of in a sense.
Yeah.
I'm sure for you, you feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's things like Instagram and Facebook, and I guess for all their ills, they still have this amazing way of connecting people from all over the planet, and it's instant.
Yes, literally.
You don't have to wait for something to come out, or as soon as something's done, you take a photo of it, you post it, and people could like it within 5 minutes of you finishing something, which is it's pretty incredible.
Well, that's what I was talking to Chris before when you started doing our first design, and we were talking about having you come on the podcast. I said, well, he's not, we're like right now, it's, what is it? Fucking, what time is it right
it's,
now?
2 in the afternoon.
Right now it's 2 in the afternoon where you
Sunday.
Or later than that, right?
Yeah.
2:30?
2:30, yeah.
2:30,
So I was like, wait, I said, every time normally I was messaging you late and it was like 11:30. I'm like, it's going to be what's the time? So we looked it up and it was like, the next day in the afternoon. I was like, oh, perfect. Because we stay up at the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it works out good for us. But, it's crazy, man, how everything works together, dude. And be able to call and do this, even the podcast in general, man, it's fucking cool. It's with social media and be able to network with people from everywhere, not just limited to one location or one state or country, It's dope.
It's a gift and a curse. Social media is a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
This is the gift. This
is the gift, exactly.
That's exactly right. But, it's been amazing, especially the guys from Dirty Mick from Omerta.
Yes, sir.
He's been one of my biggest kind of supporters since I started doing this. So I owe him a massive debt of gratitude for all the help that he's done for me, and I owe him a lot. And he's probably sick of me thanking him all the time, but he's made some of my biggest dreams come true. So it's amazing working with him. He's a great guy, awesome company. I'm doing some more stuff with them, so keep an eye out in the future.
Yeah, you guys listening, keep an eye out. omertamia.com. You can follow them on Instagram, Facebook. Tons of merch. Me and Chris usually rock all their stuff. You can see it on probably like Instagram and stuff like that, the shirts that we wear. But definitely check them out for sure, guys, if you guys are listening. Shout out to Omerta.
Yeah, big time. Really awesome guys to deal with. I love it when I hear from Mick because it means something cool's going to happen, and he can rely on me for getting stuff out and doing as best as I can with whatever it is that we're thinking of, and so it's really awesome. And and I guess going back a bit, working with some of my all-time favourite bands, and especially Murphy's Law, Agnostic Front, and Madball, to even have those on my resume is incredible. So
absolutely.
The number 1 and 2 band on my wish list was Agnostic Front and Madball, and I had the opportunity to do them one after the other. So I couldn't ask for anything more than that. So
hell yeah,
that was amazing.
Well, it came to fruition, and those are 2 of the greatest bands in hardcore history. So
the originators.
I mean, you're definitely doing it big, my friend. And
I'm looking at your horse head pillow right now on my couch. Actually, that you did for Total Revolt.
I wanted to ask you, what are some of your favorite shows that you've been to over in Melbourne?
Definitely the times that I've gotten to see AC/DC, they're probably my favourite band ever. And they're big shows, so it's a bit different. But I guess smaller shows is we've been lucky enough to actually, one of the best shows I ever went to that wasn't here was in 2013. I was on my honeymoon in New York, and my wife kindly let me go to the Black and Blue Bowl for 2 days. Nice. So I got to see the Judge reunion. I got to see Madball play in New York, which was incredible, and bands like Breakdown and stuff like that. It was amazing. So that's probably pretty high up on my list. But I mean, we've seen there's been some cool tours here over the years. We had one tour that it was Agnostic Front and Sick of It All did a sort of double header tour, which was amazing. I saw Agnostic Front play 2 nights at a small little pub in North Melbourne, which was insane. I've seen the Cro-Mags have come out here a couple of times. Seeing Marauder in a small pub here in Melbourne as well was incredible. So I've been to so many shows, I don't think I remember most of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I'm in the same boat. I've lost count and memories of who I've seen exactly when and where and everything, but I know I've been to some classic shows, so I relate to you on that.
Yeah, for sure, and the hearing loss too.
Yeah. So let's take a step back. So you said you went to New York City in the Black and Blue Bowl in 2013 for your honeymoon?
Well, the honeymoon just happened to be at the same time as the Black and Blue Bowl.
Who planned the honeymoon? Was it you?
I may have asked my wife to change the date slightly.
My man.
That's great.
Two birds, one stone.
She was cool with it. So, and I dragged her along to one of the days, and she had no idea what was going on, but she had a good time, so that was cool.
So your wife's not hip to the hardcore scene?
No, not really. No.
Does she go to shows and stuff with you?
She used to. Yeah, when we started dating and stuff, she'd come along and be interested in what was happening in the pit and all that sort of stuff, and then that novelty died off pretty quickly. So
I bet.
So it doesn't bother anymore.
Well, what's interesting to me is that I might have saw you.
You were at the Black and Blue.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've every year that's the holiday of all holidays for me. So I do remember that one too. It's hazy, but I remember when Judge fucking headlined, and that shit was definitely crazy. But it also shows you how the hardcore scene connects all around the world. I mean, you got people like Mick coming in from Australia
Yeah.
To go to New York City.
Fucking 20, 30 hours away.
You know, that's the dedication. That's what it's all about, man. You know, the love of it all.
Yeah, and it definitely is that community and brotherhood sort of feel, where I met guys from bands and spoke to guys in bands and stuff, and they were saying the same thing. They're like, "You're all the way from Australia and you came here," and it's like, "Fuck yeah, this is where I want to be. This is one of the most awesome things I could have experienced." So that was amazing, and I guess one of the stories that I just remembered the other day, and I talked to John Franco from Dead City Merch, and he plays in No Redeeming Social Value and Awkward Thoughts, and we've been doing a bit of stuff together because I did the Murphy's Law T-shirt through Dead City, and we're thinking about doing some other stuff together. And I realised the other day that we actually met at the Black and Blue Bowl that year.
Nice.
And I only just remembered. So it's crazy how it is a small world. I think that sort of stuff, and especially what we were talking about before about social media and people connecting, it's made the world a much smaller place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, too, like, your story shows that, you know, hardcore is deeper than music. You know, it's like you don't see stuff like this with pop music.
Well, it's a culture.
And I'm not trying to shit on any other genre of music, but you don't see too often these kind of stories with people who are listening to fucking the top 40. You know what I mean? This is the community of it. It expands worldwide.
Yeah, and it is a culture. It's definitely a culture where people are either kind of into it or they're not. There's no sort of halfway being involved. It's like if you are into it, you're really into it, and that's how I felt about it for many, many years. And I guess if I had my time over again, I probably would have travelled even more to go to shows, especially now given all the shit show that 2020 was.
Yeah,
travel and all that sort of stuff is going to be a thing of the future by the sounds of things. So yeah, it's you're right. This sort of thing doesn't happen in other scenes.
No, not very rarely, I would say. And what you said about, you know, the traveling, I think now, like, I know I just made a post on Facebook earlier about how it's been 8 months since I've been to a show or performed, and I fucking miss it, man. And I guess I was taking it for granted, you know, because now it's like, fuck, dude, life is not the same without it. And hopefully, sooner than later, we can get back to some form of you know, live concerts.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope for many people's sake, because it's a release for people to go to it. It's a social thing. And all the bands that either want to play or it's their livelihood. And it's been really sad to see all the people that are struggling because of this pandemic. And I really hope that early in the new year, this sort of things ease off and these sort of and shows and stuff can start happening again.
Yeah, I agree with you. 100%.
We see one aspect of it being in the U.S. Now, how has COVID affected you guys in Australia? I know you mentioned me on Instagram that you guys had like the strictest lockdown in the world in Melbourne. You know,
yeah, we did. Our government went really, really hardline with it to make sure that they did their best to make sure it went away. So
now hardline, just give me like a little bit about like what does that mean? Like they were strict as far as what do they do, like the progression of it all?
Yeah, so virtually it when it first happened, it seemed to be Sydney got hit a little bit harder than we did down here. Mm-hmm. But then something happened, and actually what happened was there was a bungle with quarantine security, where they were letting people out of quarantine in their hotels. The security guards were fucking the guests that were staying in these hotels.
Wait, the security guards were doing what?
They were having sex with the people in quarantine.
Really?
That's amazing.
Wow, I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, I can see that on CNN.
The Australian government must have covered that up from reaching across the seas.
No shit.
They don't put those in the commercials that show all the beaches and the outback and all that sort of shit.
Shit.
yeah, it took off from there, and it just went. I mean, we've got a pretty small population, so it spread pretty
Quick.
pretty bad.
Wow.
And everything shut down. All retail, restaurants, cafes, pubs were all sort of they closed for the most part. Schools closed.
What businesses were open? It might be a shorter list.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. We were only allowed to travel 5 kilometres from our house, which is 2 miles or 3 miles in the other distance measure. And we weren't allowed to visit our family or friends. And we've just come out of the lockdown in the last, I think, 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe.
No shit.
Yeah,
You guys were locked down like that from March to 3 weeks ago?
Almost, yeah. There was a small.
Wow.
We opened up for maybe 2 weeks in June. Then it went back again because the numbers went back up, so they shut us down again.
So
that's insane.
So what's open? Like the post office, the banks, the electric company, the water company,
supermarket,
like there's just the main super. And do you guys have to wear the masks out there?
Yeah, we're doing that. We've still got masks. Virtually, as soon as you leave the house, you got to have a mask on.
Outside too? They just outside?
Yeah,
they do that. Yeah, they do that here now. They just started like last week.
Yeah, but I guess from our end, the good thing for us is we've now had 16 days of no cases.
Oh, no shit. Well, that's good.
Yeah, so I think as fucked as all the lockdown was, and how harsh it was at the time, and people were really struggling and fucking going crazy and stuff, but it's now been over 2 weeks without any cases. So
that's actually fucking awesome.
It is.
That's a long time.
So
we're no cases at all. Never mind fatalities. No cases. That's fucking major. But you've been on the strict lockdown since fucking March. That's also major.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
That's wild.
And I've been stuck home even longer because we had a baby in February. So
you got a 9-month-old and a 4-year-old.
Yeah, so the 9-month-old's basically grown up in
COVID,
in isolation. Yeah,
no shit. And you have to take other precautions because the baby's so young, probably too, right? Immune system might not be as good.
I guess. Yeah, well, we couldn't go anywhere, so it didn't really
affect it too much. Yeah,
affect him. Yeah, so and the older one, his sort of childcare and stuff got shut down, so he was stuck here with us as well. So yeah, everyone went a bit crazy.
No kidding. That's wild. I can't believe it was that strict for that long. I mean, maybe that's what it takes. Because now you're the only. I mean, you have 14 days, no cases. Never mind fatalities. So that's fucking major.
Well, let me ask you this, Mick.
Yeah.
Now here, I don't know if you've read. I'm sure you have seen it, but the case rate has gone back up now because they say it's because they relaxed the restrictions and people were gathering in large social groups and not wearing masks, etc. Now, and there's also been a lot of debate here and talk and conspiracies and about how the numbers are inflated and this, that, and the third. How do you see it in Australia? Do you think it's as real as they say? Do you think the numbers are inflated? What's maybe the difference between there and here?
I think it's hard to say because we'd hear that the numbers were kind of being manipulated maybe sometimes. Right. Especially with the deaths as well. Like they could report deaths 2 weeks, 3 weeks after they happened. So I don't think we could get a completely accurate figure. But I think what happened here is as soon as it started gaining momentum, they just shut us down and they tried not to give it a chance to spread any worse than it was. Whereas you guys haven't really had much of a lockdown, not to the obviously the extent that we have. But
no. But I think that goes kind of like we were talking about earlier about Australia's country and with the United States. It's bigger, but it's broken down into a bunch of states. So the president made the governors of each state choose what they wanted to do, where it wasn't a whole, like a unity. You know what I mean?
There's a couple of states that didn't do anything. Yep. There's a couple of states that didn't do anything at all. They never enforced anything really.
That's crazy. And what's your daily rate? Like 100 and something thousand, isn't it?
Well, that's what they say, but
it's hard to tell. Our media, and actually, I want to talk to you about that too. Our media is hard to follow. Like, my question for you is, what do you do? What do you guys see, being from across the goddamn world, about the United States on your media? What do they portray it as?
Yeah,
like with the election and with the COVID and everything.
Well, let me interject too before you answer that. Our medias tend to be swayed towards one political party. So you have some media outlets that are Republican, some media outlets that are Democrat, and depending on which one you watch, you're going to get reports that are going to favor one or the other. Now, and then you can answer Rob's question.
Yeah, our media is definitely separate.
We get a lot of U.S. news, sometimes more than our own.
Shit.
And especially in the last couple of weeks with your election, that took over our own news. It was all about Trump versus Biden and all that sort of stuff, and it's full on. So we get a lot of U.S. news.
So what media outlets would it be, like Fox and CNN, MSNBC, stuff like that, or is it just different branches?
Yeah, I think it's different branches here. They just pick and choose what they want from, because a lot of our articles, if you read it online, it's via permission from CNN or something like that. I don't think we get the US news that's sort of biased against one view or another. It's just a lot of US news that's, I think, meant to be impartial, but it's hard to say without knowing the politics.
Which actually, it's probably exactly what it is, because it's not media controlled, because it's a different country. Like ours are controlled. Like everything is kind of controlled out here by the media.
Yeah, definitely. But what I wanted to ask you too is, how does the political system work in Australia, and does your local news sway towards one part of the system or another?
I think newspapers here are a bit more like that. So certain newspapers go towards one party's views than another. I don't think the news, like our general sort of news and TV channels, are like that too much. I think when you go to the cable networks and the news channels might be a bit more swayed by one way or the other. But we've kind of got, like, I guess our version of the Democrats and the Republicans is like the Labor Party and the Liberal Party are the two big parties. And we've got smaller ones like the Greens and other groups like that. But we just had our state elections, I think, a month, or our local council elections in the last sort of month or so. But the similar thing happened here. The Prime Minister basically delegated the states to deal with COVID how they thought necessary. Like, he basically did nothing, as far as I'm aware, with how to deal with it. He basically left it up to the premiers of each state to make up their own minds about how hardline they wanted to do it, or how they wanted to ease restrictions, or what restrictions to put in place, and all that sort of stuff.
It's crazy how America and American politics and our culture influences the rest of the world. Like, you guys are getting our news on our elections on the other side of the world. You know what I mean? It just blows my mind right now how you're saying that, because I would think, like, you guys have your own shit to worry about, your own elections, but yet they're spending time covering our presidential elections here, because America is a superpower and we influence the rest of the world,
and more so than their own current news.
Yeah, it's fucking insane to me.
Wild.
Yeah, it's and news is always geared towards like American sort of stories and stuff.
That's crazy.
The gossip columns, all the paparazzi shit. It's always about fucking Kardashians and all that sort of shit.
So you gotta suffer through that too. It's not just us.
Not yet. Good.
Well,
yeah. We share your pain.
The fucked up thing is, like, we don't get news from Australia unless it's something catastrophic. You know what I mean? Like,
no, unless there was like bombings or fires or a fucking natural disaster,
exactly.
We're not going to see it.
If something really bad happens in Australia,
we would never see any election that goes on in Australia.
No, I have no idea about it. That's why I asked you. But if something really bad happens in Australia, they will cover it here. But it's crazy how that works. They're covering our fucking regular fucking media over there.
It's wild.
Your regular news is pretty much our regular news as well.
No shit.
That's fucking crazy, dude. You know, and you know, like, you know, I'm into different cultures and stuff, and I'm gonna bring that up in a second, but like, I know some things about Australia, you know, just from doing my own research and things, but otherwise, most people probably have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, they probably think it's, you know, Crocodile Dundee and you know, that's all shit like that. That's really generic. You know, that sort of fucked it up. Like in The Simpsons when they did an Australian episode, and you know, it's
or even
it's a parody
movies.
of
even the movies that we see. It's all fucking. You know, you pay. We would pay as being in the United States. We would paint a picture based on the entertainment factor because that's all we see.
Yeah. Well, kids grow up watching Captain Kangaroo.
Yeah.
Over here, you know,
or Steve Irwin.
But he's not a kangaroo.
Yeah. No. And that's the thing. Australian culture is a lot more than just fucking kangaroos and Crocodile Dundee and boomerangs and shit.
Yeah, and you know, and no one said, you know, like the crocodile hunter. No one says crikey. No one fucking says that.
You heard it first, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody says crikey in Australia. That's some bullshit, right?
So if I was to go to Australia and use the word crank, I'd look like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, you definitely would.
And the other thing we don't say is put another shrimp on the barbie. We don't say that either.
Do you guys drink Foster's over there?
No, not really. No, that's always the thing that's amazed me.
Yeah.
You can buy it, but no one drinks it.
Yeah, that's
I heard
funny.
there were beers that they put opiates in. I did hear that. I don't know if that's true or not.
You brought that up to me. I don't know.
Somebody told me that.
Is that true, Mick?
I don't know. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I fucking heard of it. I'm gonna have to fucking look it up. But yeah, I heard that. But that was the only other thing.
So moving on to maybe a more lighthearted topic, I brought it up to you earlier, but like I said, I like to do research. I'm a big true crime fan, and one of the most famous criminals in history is Chopper Reed. And you said you saw him a few times?
Yeah, I was on my way home from work once, and he used to live in a inner city suburb called Collingwood. And I used to travel through Collingwood on my way home from work. And one day I was stopped at the light in Collingwood, and I turned my head and had a look, and someone was walking down the sidewalk, and it was fucking Chopper Reed.
Nice.
And he was with, you know, a couple of his minders, I think. He was big, tough-looking guys. And, yeah, it was kind of cool just to see someone of that sort of notoriety just sort of walking the streets and stuff. So, yeah.
What did you think of the movie, the Chopper movie?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. It shows that gritty sort of side of Australian crime, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's another series that you guys might like if you haven't already seen it or heard of it called Underbelly.
I've heard of it. I've actually seen a couple of episodes, but I didn't get deep into it. But yeah, Underbelly. Yeah. Yeah,
so that was based on they called it the Gangland Wars here in Melbourne. So they were sort of, I think, different sort of drug sort of dealer groups and stuff, and sort of gangster guys, and a lot of people got killed, and it was kind of, people knew the areas that had happened, and a lot of the inner city suburbs here had those incidents happen in them. I lived not far from one of the pubs where one of the guys was shot dead in there, and so yeah, it was a big thing. I think that series came out in maybe about 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's worth a look if you haven't watched the whole thing. It's really good.
Being from Australia, would you say that's kind of a realistic? Would Underbelly be like a realistic like show to watch? Is it like not too far fetched from what was really going on?
No, I think it was pretty true to the facts of what actually happened. Yeah, because it already played out in the newspapers. So this had gone on for years, where you know, certain gangland identities were getting sort of murdered left, right, and centre, and I guess someone wrote a book based on the events of that story, and then they turned it into a TV show. So I think it's pretty accurate to what actually happened.
Another Australian movie that became a hit series over here was Animal Kingdom.
Oh yeah, yep.
That's
yes.
originally.
I've never seen that, actually.
I think they had 2 series, maybe.
Well, that show,
or maybe a movie in a
that
series.
show was pretty popular over here, and I've
seen it.
I've seen a little bit of it, but I actually like the movie a lot better.
Okay, I'll have to check it out because I never got around to watching it myself.
The both or just the TV show?
Both of them, actually. I haven't seen either.
The movie's well done. It's,
I didn't see the movie. I saw the TV show.
The movie's well done. It was based in Australia, obviously, because that's where the characters were from in real life.
It was the same thing about the family, and
Yeah,
the mother was like the patriarch.
Yes.
The brothers,
They took it and made it an American TV show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's interesting
I
how
gotta
that
watch
works.
the movie then.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, the show is dope.
Well, I'll have to check it out. But I currently live not far from the prison that Chopper Reed spent many years incarcerated at. So it's cool driving past, and it's an real old school prison with the the limestone sort of bricks and the high fences and all that sort of stuff. And now it's apartment buildings inside the prison.
Really?
They're probably haunted.
Well, now
they like remodel it?
Yeah, they kind of knocked down the interior buildings and built sort of townhouses and apartment buildings and stuff within the prison grounds.
They still got the fences up with the barbed wire?
Yeah, all the fences are still there. Yeah, I think they're heritage listed, so they've kept the the aesthetics of the prison. And it's now full of hipsters and yuppies and stuff that go to cafes and stuff there. So it's and it's actually quite expensive to live there. So
the gentrification and hipster invasion is a global epidemic. It's not just the American thing.
That's the true pandemic,
right?
You ain't fucking. And that shit's been going on for a long time. I also think a Chopper Reed cartoon or a drawing would be dope, man. If you came up with something like that.
Actually, I've been meaning to do something like that. You've reminded me, so I'll take a note and
let me know,
watch
man.
Watch this space. I'll do something for you in the next couple of weeks.
That'd be sick, bro. Chopper was a crazy motherfucker. He's probably. I watched that movie. Someone told me to watch the movie. I watched it, and then I kind of got it. I had a period where I was like researching.
Didn't you use you had an album cover with him on it, right?
Yeah, he's on the inside of one of my mixtape covers. But I had a period where I was looking into all the Chopper shit, and then the Australian crime scene as well, the gangland and everything. And it's definitely it's like everywhere else, man. You know what I'm saying? This shit goes down everywhere. It's not just exclusive to America or
No, that's right. And Chopper wrote heaps of different books and about his sort of life story and the things that he did, and there's heaps and heaps of books. I haven't read any of them, but I'm not sure how true a lot of the stories are. Of made up some of the stories to make it sound, I guess, more interesting. But that stuff happens everywhere.
Now I got to ask you about something else. I've talked to some people from Australia before through music and things like that. And I've heard about this myth of what's called drop bears. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah.
Is
it meant to be a koala bear that falls out of a tree and sort of rips your face off or something?
Yes. There's even like a YouTube video about it.
I don't think they exist.
No, so you've never actually seen one?
No, I've never seen a drop bear, no.
That is actually another thing similar, not drop bears, but they always post stuff online about like Australia having crazy different animals that we don't have over here. They obviously fucking kangaroos, but
they have animals that are exclusive to just
there, right?
There.
Yeah, like those fucking crazy lizards with the fucking necks and shit.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's all kinds of shit they've never seen anywhere else.
I think when Slapshot did their tour here, they released a tour 7-inch, and it was called "Everything Here Wants to Kill You."
Have you had any run-ins with any of the local wildlife?
Not really, other than like some big spiders.
How big is a
not
big
really.
spider?
I mean, we have big. I guess the size of your palm.
Yeah, it's fucking big.
Yeah, that's something we don't see right where we are.
Yeah, that could be pretty terrifying, especially if you're scared of spiders. But not really. I mean, I had a rat in my garage a couple of weeks ago. That's pretty much as close as I've gotten lately.
Oh, rats. We have rats everywhere.
Yeah, that's so common. That's
it's
common.
like having a puppy.
some rats are as big as puppies, too.
Yeah, no shit, dude. Some bigger. When you guys were, you and your wife, did you guys get affected work-wise during the COVID thing? Were you guys able to work, or did you have to, like, I don't know if you guys do the unemployment and all that shit down there?
Yeah, we're a lot of people lost their jobs here, probably like everywhere else. I've been working from home since March.
So at least you can work.
Yeah, so we just sort of work remotely, and it doesn't sound like we're going back anytime soon either. So,
which is crazy, seeing that you guys haven't had a case in 2 weeks.
Well, they're probably waiting to see what happens.
Well, yeah, I know.
They've got to make. Apparently, they've got to make workplaces and stuff. They've got to be COVID safe, and they've got to they've got to have these rules in place and all this sort of shit. And I think they're probably struggling to figure out exactly how that's going to look for people.
Are like restaurants and bars and stuff like that open now?
Yeah, they're open now with reduced capacity.
Yep, us too.
And I think next week they're going to ease the restrictions a little bit more, so those places will be able to have some more people in them, which is good for those businesses.
Do they have to put like plexiglass and stuff up?
You've got to check in with some app on your phone.
Yeah.
You've got to wear a mask if you go to the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stay in a seat. You can't get up and stand at the bar and drink pints all day. You've got to sit down, and so it's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of similar.
I've been out a couple of times. So hopefully that eases up a little bit more in the next couple of weeks, and those businesses can get back what they lost.
Yeah, no shit. If they even reopen, a lot of places out here they've went under. They've sold out, or they've just went fucking bankrupt early.
Yeah, I've seen a few places in the city here that have been boarded up, and with signs on the window saying "That's it, we couldn't survive, and we're gone." So it's a shame seeing
and
that.
It's sad because some places have been open for fucking 80 fucking years, and then family business after generation, and now they got to close the door because of this stupid shit, and it's fucking sad, especially if it's like a neighborhood place that you go to a lot, or your family grew up going to a spot, and then then they got to just one day you go there and they're like, doors are locked, we're done. And it's like, what the fuck? It sucks.
Yeah, it's very sad because, people have their lives invested in their businesses.
Exactly.
And that's something that they've worked towards for, fuck knows how many years. And all of a sudden it's gone, and that's it. And it's really sad. That's been a really sad part of this whole thing. Apart from people, dying.
Yeah.
Of course, but it's very sad.
Mick, what do you currently listen to, whether it be U.S. or down under?
I guess the new AC/DC record came out here on Friday, so I've been given that a few spins. So that's been something to.
I have not listened to it yet.
I didn't even know they dropped a new album.
How did it? How is it good? Is it like old original AC/DC? I mean, they've always kind of been the same. They never really changed too much.
Yeah, it's along the same lines as all the Brian Johnson era stuff. So I mean, they haven't done anything different, obviously, but it's a pretty safe record. It's good. I like it, but there's just something for me that's just lacking from it. Whether that's because they're getting pretty old now or whatever it is, but it's good. But it's definitely better than the last record, which sucked. So I'm happy that they put something out that's listenable. So, but other stuff that I'm listening to, I tend to stick to the classics, just all the stuff that I've always sort of listened to. Been back listening to a lot of Agnostic Front stuff at the moment. Killing Time, Sham 69, because I've got something coming out with that sort of theme to it soon.
Nice.
So yeah, I kind of listen to just the stuff I've always sort of listened to, really.
Yeah. Hey, better to stick with the classics. Sometimes.
For real.
Yeah, don't fuck with what's not broken, I suppose.
That's true. That's true indeed. So, Mick, you want to give out your social media, your website, where people can contact you, check out your artwork?
Yeah, I guess my Instagram is just Mick Lambrou. Surname is spelled Lambrou. I've got a Redbubble page as well where I'm selling I think 7 different designs, but you can get all sorts of shit on there, shirts.
I know I got to check out the rat poison.
Even pillowcases, mugs, stickers, tote bags, all sorts of stuff. And that's Mick Lambrou Art. And then I guess if anyone wants to hit me up on Facebook as well, it's just Mick Lambrou. And that's pretty much it, really.
What's the website again where you're selling the artwork and stuff?
It's called Redbubble.
Redbubble, okay. So what do they just go to Redbubble and type your name in?
Yeah, you could just go into Redbubble and type in Mick Lambrou Art, and I guess my stuff should pop up.
Okay, cool. So everyone out there, if you're interested in Mick's artwork, go to Redbubble and type in Mick Lambrou, and his stuff will come up. And also you can hit him up on Instagram, and he'll get back to you in a timely fashion. And,
Facebook too, guys. Instagram is Mick Lambrou, MickLambrou.
That's right. And
that's the one.
Definitely a top-notch artist with a unique style, and he's a good guy, obviously. So it would be good to get at him for some support the artist, man. Artists always need support. We always stress that.
Yeah, guys. If you can't, even if you're listening, just go check out his website. Give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share. Even if you can't afford it, I know pandemic, people are like penny pinching, but just share his stuff, man. Maybe you could stimulate some growth that way.
That would be awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Mick. Any shout outs you want to give to anybody?
No, I want to thank you guys sincerely for the opportunity to talk to you guys. This has been really cool. It's been an honor for me. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks for reaching out and asking me on the show. It's been really awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Anytime, brother. I mean, we appreciate you just the same.
Yeah, of course, man. It was great talking to you. Great talking to somebody on the other side of the world, and we got your back 100%. We'll be promoting your stuff. And hopefully one day when this COVID thing dies down, we'll travel to Australia, or you'll travel back out this way, and we can link up in person.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounds awesome. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for coming on. That was great. And everyone, support Mick Lambrou.
Oh, yeah. Anybody want artwork, design work, anything, man, hit them up. Hand-drawn. Ain't no fake to this game, guys. You got to check them out.
For real.
Instagram, Mick Lambrou. Facebook, man. Mick Lambrou, Redbubble, Mick Lambrou Art. He's out there, man.
Yes, sir.
So, Mick, I appreciate it, brother. Been a great time.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Mick. Thank you for coming on. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks, brother. Thank you.
Have a good one. Peace.
That's right, boys and girls. Street Corner Soapbox. We're fucking out of here.
Peace. Follow us on Instagram at street_corner_soapbox.
Don't forget, guys, check us out. Like us on Facebook at Street Corner Soapbox.
And subscribe and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Stitcher,
and all digital platforms. Don't forget, all of our episodes are going to be on streetcornersoapbox.com. Love you all.